Okay. Hey, everyone. This is Coach Loretta, and we're here with Trail Run Coach. And I'm here with Coach Reese today, and we're going to have a little fun talking about Coach Reese and some gait analysis. So I'm glad that you joined us. We're going to have a great time just talking about that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. If we don't get them during the Q&A, we will reach out later, and Coach Reese will answer those questions for you. So, Reese, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. So what are you training for right now?
Okay, so right now I just got done with a 5K block, just working on my speed. So I've been running a lot of strides, a lot of K intervals, and I just ran that on Saturday. So I'm kind of taking like a little bit of a down week, but still trying to keep some sort of volume. And then it's all Earth Day prep. So
Oh, nice. Are you running Earth Day?
Yep.
Which, the 50K?
Yep.
Nice. Have you been on that course before? Do you live near that?
Yeah, so we live like 20 minutes away, so it's really,
Okay.
it's nice to get on it. I usually only get on there like maybe once a week or so just to get out into those woods. Otherwise I stay like in my local area just, for time management and still getting miles in and still going to work and organizing and coaching for everybody. So,
Right. Great. That's great. I just want to circle back around to something that you did say, that you're doing some speed work. A lot of times I think ultra runners get a bad rap for not doing speed work. And sometimes, when I get athletes that come in as coaching, that's something they tell me right up front. They don't want to do speed work because they don't care about their pace. They don't care how fast they are. Do you want to speak to that just real quick before we get into gait analysis? Because I think it's just something kind of interesting that it is important, but sometimes we forget that.
Oh yeah, totally. Okay, so the first reason that you would think about doing speed work is for performance, and the second reason you would think about doing speed work is for fun. So to speak on performance, doing speed work and specifically thinking about races or paces that are going to be faster than like your 5K or your 3K pace, and just continually working on those gears works on two different fronts. Neuromuscularly, it helps connect your brain with that motor pattern, so that way we can have those gears to switch it on high during a race, say when we need to go up a hill, or if we're trying to outkick like somebody that we've been leapfrogging with all day. And on the second end of it, it also works muscularly and metabolically. So by turning over those, and revving our metabolism up, so that way we can process more oxygen and use fuel a little bit more efficiently. It just makes our slower paces a little bit easier metabolically for us to become more efficient and not hit the wall and not bonk at lower paces. So, it not only conditions your muscles, but it also helps condition just your ability to produce energy. So on a continuum, that's all aerobic running, we got to work on our low gears, our ultra running gears, our ability to just go all day. And we have to work on these other gears so that way we can hit that hill, we can hit those flats. So that would be the performance side. And on the fun side, personally, like this time of year, I love going out, hitting it fast, hitting it hard, like really feeling it. I've been meditating a lot on this during my runs I try not to think about any of my works as painful, but just as this feeling of workout is like this sensation that I want to like envelop myself in, just because it's kind of a beautiful thing to be a person feeling what it feels like to be under volitional, like heavy exercise. So I really like hitting those fast paces just for fun. So if somebody doesn't find too much fun in it, that's totally fine. We can work on other things, or we can do some sort of speed that you do find fun, because speed doesn't have to be just K intervals. It doesn't have to be 800 meters. It could be fartleks. It could be pickups. It could be, just kind of like having a pickup race with one of your friends, So I think speed work as a general term kind of gets this bad rap of like, oh, I'm going to be, like sucking air, puking my guts out and not having fun. And it's like, no, it just means, like, let's get the legs clicking over faster than your 100-mile pace for once in a blue moon,
Right. And I love that. I agree. I love doing speed, throwing it in, strides, especially. They're fun to put in longer runs, just to kind of break things up. It's surprising. Well, I run with a lot of different people, and sometimes they don't know for sure about whether they want to do the stride piece with me, but when they do it, they enjoy it and they have a lot of fun. And I think some of our stride work is done at different paces, right? So we might be tuned in more to that marathon, half marathon pace during some stride work. So it's not really all out speed. So, it's changing your pace, but you're not pushing yourself, to the max, so it makes it a little bit, fun to do that as well. So, and I've even kind of competed against some of my athletes from afar to kind of get them motivated to do some speed work. So we're, both like, okay, we're on a trail, we're getting ready to run. All right, go. And let's see who gets to the next, to the distance that we're saying, fastest, and kind of just doing it virtually, which kind of makes it a little bit fun too. So there's a lot of ways to add in speed work, have fun with it, and not dread it, I think. So, yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love being out there like all day for, out in the woods, like for those long days where you're just going out and you're clicking miles and you're seeing sights and you're feeling the feels. But, like every once in a while, having a little bit of structure can go miles, with your performance later on in the year, and just your ability to have more fun during these events too.
Absolutely. I agree. I like that piece, the ability to have more fun, because now we're able to maintain a little bit faster pace and feels easier because of the speed work that we put in early season. So, yeah. So, we have a new program that Coach Reese designed. It's called Gait Analysis. And Reese, why is it that you thought that this was important that we add that to one of our offerings here at Ornery Mule Racing Trail Run Coaching?
I think it's incredibly important to think about the way that we run. Any type of physical endeavor is going to have a physical conditioning component as well as just a skill component. So when we go out and we run, we're building, our physical ability to perform at these races and whatnot. But a lot of times we don't think that running is a skill. Running is a biomechanical way that we can either enhance or inhibit our ability to then express that physical fitness that we built up. For example, if we have a really inefficient stride and we're overstriding a ton, we can build up a lot of good fitness, but we're kind of just almost shooting ourselves in the foot by just incorporating these extra forces that don't provide us with forward propulsion. So I think that's huge in the sense of, let's not only build our physical fitness, but let's also spend time at the craft of moving our bodies beautifully and effortlessly through the environment. If we can make running easier on ourselves too, easier on our joints, we can also delay or inhibit or curtail some of these running related injuries that a lot of people experience.
All right, thanks. I find it interesting. We have, when we go through sports, we have people, if you're playing golf or you're playing basketball or football, you're learning the technique of that. But when we look at running, that's often overlooked, so you're just given a prescription of go out and run, but you're never really taught how to run, right? So, I mean, I think a lot of people in our community is similar to my age. And, in high school, what I was taught by coaches is the longer you stride, stride out. So really what that was doing to me is I was breaking with every step because I was heel striking every time, I was going. So, as I've learned things through trainings, through running form trainings, I have changed and developed my stride. So it's more efficient and into more of a midfoot runner. And so I just think that that's interesting because, in high school, I had a lot of problems with my knees. It was probably the impact I was putting on them because I was trying to stride out so far. So,
yeah. And I think it's even more important for us trail runners that are doing incline and elevation, because when you're running flat and you just think about like a flat horizontal plane, it's really easy to think, okay, like if I heel strike, then I'm going to be applying these braking forces. But more importantly, when we're going downhill, like it's not about whether we land forefoot, midfoot, or rear foot. It's about where our foot lands under our center of gravity. Because if we can, no matter what surface we're on, if we can get that foot to land underneath our center of gravity, then we don't incur more braking forces for sure. So I think for trail runners, it's almost a little bit more complex in that, like, you're going to be heel striking at times, you're going to be forefoot striking at times, you're going to be midfoot striking at times, but having the proprioceptive awareness or the internal ability to understand where is my foot striking on what type of terrain, I think that's huge for our ability to navigate like difficult trail races with ease.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about the program that you've developed. Do you just kind of want to start with how it works and walk us through a little bit?
Yeah, totally. So since I'm a firm believer that one can change their stride, we developed this 4-week course where at the start I ask everybody to film from the side and from the back, so that way I can take the video and I can break it down, and I can draw angles and I can show highlights on what is happening with everybody's form. And then it's a 4-week strength and drill exercise that's progressed through subsequent weeks. So that way we not only address muscular imbalances or deficiencies that are causing one to have an improper stride, but we also then through the drills teach the body how to use that developed muscle that we build. So we have the process of filming at the beginning, a 4-week plan of exercises and drills. And then at the very end of the 4 weeks, we have everybody send their video back in, so that way we can just track any changes and see if there's more work that needs to be done, see what's going on with the body, and just analyze the changes that are taking place.
Okay, so when you have this video, how are you having them video? Is that something that they do outside? Is that something on a treadmill?
On treadmill would be wonderful. I understand that we all, if we can do this on our own in our own time without incorporating other people to follow us on like a bike or anything, like that would be more efficient. And there's an argument of, like, oh, treadmill running doesn't exactly relate to outside running, but it's a very good proxy. It's it's not going to change drastically. So it's definitely a good standard in the industry for analyzing somebody's gait. So filming on a treadmill, a back shot, and then a side shot eliminates the variables of having somebody have to follow you on a bike or, only give me a couple strides as you come in and out of the frame. So yeah, that's what I would really like, because I really want to see people at different intensities with their running, like at a slower intensity, at a moderate intensity, at a higher intensity, because our biomechanics and our joint angles change. So it's nice to be able to see people's changing in the interaction of their gait in between different intensities. So
with your yeah, so we've been doing just a short time, but what's your experience with people? How's that going? What's the feedback you've received?
Yeah, I've been receiving really great feedback. There's a family that I was working with who said that they can noticeably see a difference in their son's gait. I've also received other input, just as far as like these exercises are going great. It's a very well laid out program, easy to follow, and whatnot. So yeah, it's been really wonderful to just have a little positive impact with other people. And I really think too that just by getting us aware that the way that we run impacts our health as well as our performance, I think just getting that on people's minds, that they're thinking, what does my stride actually look like, is huge. So yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Nice. And sometimes what is in our mind of what our stride looks like and what our stride actually looks like are like two different things, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what would make me, want to consider doing that, when I'm looking at maybe all of the things that I want, maybe I'm working with a running coach already, virtually, what would make me decide to do a gait analysis as well?
Yeah, this one's pretty big. As far as like an uninjured runner, I would say, okay, you're uninjured. This is great. But let's just take a look at what's happening with your stride to see if we could prevent any injuries that might be lingering on the horizon. Of course, if there's any weak links in the chain, those are usually the first ones to break. So if we can analyze that and address them before the chain does break, it makes habilitation a lot easier if you don't have to rehabilitate. So that would be, if you don't experience any injuries, that would be like the first and foremost, like, hey, let's just check in to see if I've developed any compensatory injuries from rolling an ankle or having sore quads or whatever they develop for multiple reasons. Another reason would be the runner who experiences chronic niggles. I'm a huge fan of, like, if you experience chronic pains, or if it's debilitating, or if it's something that you can't stand, go into a PT, go into a chiro, get somebody's hands on you and develop a plan from there. But of course, there's a lot of people who are like, you know what, I have this nagging hip, or I have this nagging glute, and it's not bad, but it doesn't feel great. I feel it after like 7-8 miles, and it just doesn't make me want to like go any further than that. those would be the people I would say, like, okay, let's take a look at what's happening with your stride, because if you're experiencing a certain pain right now, chances are you don't know it, but your body is compensating and altering your gait. So now we have kind of two different things. We have the injury that's occurring first and foremost, and then we have the compensations that occur as a result. So maybe we can start to even things out and rehabilitate your stride again, so that way your muscles get stronger, and you can keep going without having to worry about that like nagging whatever you have.
Right.
So those would be the two, that don't happen to relate to performance. I think the way that we run our stride is a huge performance enhancer for sure. If we can propel ourselves forwards without spending extra energy, extra metabolic energy, we're going to be able to save those calories that we ingest from goos and from our drink mix and whatnot, and just solely move forwards with that, instead of having these braking forces that are kind of working against us as we're trying to get forwards. And having a proper stride for your slow running, for your moderate running, and for your fast running will just help your legs click over a little bit better into each of those different intensities. During ultramarathons, even a 100-mile race, you're going to have a long chunk of time at that really easy intensity, but then you're also going to have periods where you're transitioning into a moderate intensity and into a heavy intensity, say if you're trying to outkick somebody or whatever it is. So just being able to have control of our bodies and understanding of, like, if this is the way that I feel, this is how my stride looks, and it might be biting me in the butt, so to speak. Having that proprioceptive awareness is huge. And also in these longer races, if we can just run more efficiently, so that way we don't incur as much breakdown in our muscles, you're going to get to the end of the race, not feeling quite as cashed as somebody who's putting a lot of wear and tear on their joints and working against themselves.
Okay, yeah, and who doesn't want to spend less energy on it, right? During
sure.
a run, we can
Mm-hmm.
always use that extra energy. So I'm wondering, do you ever think about the different types of shoes that people are wearing and how that may impact their gait?
Yeah, I think there's certain shoes that can help foster like a more biomechanically sound gait for somebody. For sure. I mean, our feet are very tactile in nature. Like, there's a lot of sensory receptors in the bottom of our feet. So if we put them in a really thick, really heavy shoe, we can kind of lose that sensory perception. Now, is a big, thick, heavy shoe a bad thing? Not when we run 100 miles. It's going to be protective on our feet, but we do also want to check in and just make sure that we are connected with all the musculature of our lower legs, of our feet and whatnot. So through strength training and through drills, we can kind of reincorporate those proper movement patterns back into somebody's stride. Some people like to go really minimal on their shoes, which is a personal decision. I personally think that if you don't have quite as big of a heel on the back of your shoe, you're going to be able to feel more if a heel strike hurts. Nobody wants to hurt when they're running. So thicker heels are going to be more absorptive. It's not a word. They're going to be more dampening of some of those impact forces that we experience if we do overstride. So wearing a more minimal shoe might be able to tell you, like, hey, where are the faults in my stride? But they do come with a trade-off in that, a more minimal shoe, a flatter shoe, is going to be more demanding of the lower leg musculature, which is often something that people haven't developed through a lifetime of just being in shoes, So that is a very loaded question. It's a very important question, and that I think everybody should ask themselves. But I think a lot of it can be boiled down to the end of the day. No matter what type of shoe you're wearing, try to get some barefoot work in, try to work on that lower leg musculature. If it's safe and if you can, if you feel comfortable doing it, maybe do some strength training barefoot, bearing in mind not to drop any weight on your feet, but just being connected to those muscles and how they're moving is huge.
Right. And I mean, I think if you are thinking about, I think it's something to know, looking at those more minimalist shoes and you're not in them, you want to kind of ease into a transition. It's not something you just want to go out and switch to and all of a sudden, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Just like with anything, you could say this about nutrition on a race day. You could say this about training. You never want your body to experience just an abrupt, like 180-degree turn with anything. So your body's the SAID principle stands for specific adaptations to imposed demands, which just highlights that whatever types of stresses we impose our body on, it's going to get really good at adapting and overcoming those stresses. Stresses on the lower foot, if your heel is elevated a little bit, it's gonna your body's gonna experience those stresses from each foot strike in a slightly different manner than if that heel is down flat on the ground. So since it's a different stress, it requires a progressive type of protocol in order to strengthen up without injuring or incurring any long-term damages.
Right. I was thinking, so Reese and I have been part of book club this last month, and we've been reading Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus, which we wrapped up last night. But some of the things you've said has got me thinking. So if I were to go and do this gait analysis, it might be something that I'm doing a check-in with my body while I'm running. I don't know. Do you want to connect that at all to the book that we were talking about? They were talking about some of the elite runners. That's what they do, right? They're doing this whole systems check.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's, and I experienced this when I'm racing too, is, when you are in the performance mindset, when you are trying to get everything that you can out of your body, you do want to be connected with, how is my stride? Is there a hitch in my step? How am I moving? So having that, and I've been tossing around this word, proprioception, or your brain's ability to know what is happening with your muscles and with your joints without specifically looking at it. So if you were to close your eyes and just strike a pose, your brain is going to have this internal conception of what you look like. So we can enhance that internal perception of what you believe your body to be doing when you're not actually looking at it by, by doing drills, by getting in front of mirrors, by filming ourselves running and analyzing and talking about it with somebody else. So that idea of going in and taking these systemic body checks with yourself, thinking about proprioceptively, like, okay, my body feels like this. Do I have a hitch in my step? Am I low on food? Am I low on calories? Like, those are all things that if somebody's looking to perform on the day of, things that you want to think of for sure. And Steve Magnus does a great job highlighting that, in that, even in 100, 200, 400 meter runners, they're not just, turning on the rage, moving their muscles and not thinking about anything except getting to the finish line. It's a series of complex brain and body interactions, just to regulate, like, okay, how much energy do I have? Can I push here? What is my competition doing? How does my body feel? How is my body moving? Do I have any aches or pains? And whatnot. So this gait analysis program is a great way to start developing your more athletic proprioception, or your athletic idea of, how do I move through space? Is it efficient, and is it beautiful, and is it a work of art? Or is it something that is it a skill that we can refine to get to that idea that we have in our heads of, how do I want to be executing my movement through this race?
Right. Well, thank you. Something I should have mentioned earlier, and I kind of slipped past is, do you want to share what your background is a little bit, and this kind of how this brought this together as well?
Yeah, totally. So I have a background. I have a bachelor's in kinesiology, which is movement science. So it's a lot of biology, anatomy, physiology, biomechanics studies, as well as a nutritional minor. So I really like to practice performance with my athletes, and talk about nutrition, talk about workouts, talk about strength training to complement endurance training performance. I've been working in physical therapy for a couple of years now. I currently work at a chiropractic clinic where, I execute people's plans of care back from rehabilitation. And so that all translates into my ultra runnings. It's just this passion of, like, how does the body move? How does the body fuel? What is my psychology behind what I'm doing? How can I optimize all of these different factors to have the experience that I want to experience? Some people are going to have, this idea of, I want to win. And some people are going to have this idea and this goal of, I want to feel great and I want to do my best. And that's what I'm going for. And that's performance to me, is whatever that goal is. If it's first place, if it's have a great time out there, if it's use this as a training run, like, my goal is to help people find that performance in their athletic endeavors.
Right. So, and Reese also is one of our trail run coaches as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, he does do monthly coaching and you can get all of this wisdom from him, which is really, really quite a bargain. So I do have a question about, in our listing, we do talk about if you live in the greater Chicago area, that there is some possibility for some in-person, more one-on-one. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still putting together details, but we're going to be offering some in-person training classes. I'm really excited about doing, like squat analysis, deadlift analysis, being able to get hands-on with people and, really get one-on-one with how is your body moving, what types of exercises can help aid in your performance with your running, what types of workouts can you be running. I'm really excited to, keep developing and proving that I can be a good resource for individuals for their strength training to complement their endurance training, their intra competition fueling and whatnot. So that is something that we're working on right now. So we'll get details within the coming weeks for sure. So
Nice, nice. And if that's something you're interested in, reach out. Feel free to reach out to me, and we can work together with Coach Reese to come up with something that will be individualized and matched best to you. So, anything else last that you want to share before we go? Because I know that you and I could talk for hours and hours about running. That's just the way we are. We're both super passionate about running, ultra running, and helping the community. I think one of our big goals at OMR Trail Run Coaching is helping people enjoy the running process, also helping keep people injury free, and then being part of a big community. And so that's what we're here for. But do you have anything you'd like to share?
yeah, I think I threw around some big terms, and I think just to boil it down nice and succinctly, like, this gait analysis program is 4 weeks of self-guided workouts and drills to help you gain strength in areas that need to be worked on, and then to translate that into your running performance. I'm very excited to, provide this for more people and to get more insight and to keep also advancing my knowledge and my skill in being able to deliver that to people on like a practical level.
Right, exactly. And I will put that in our comments, the link to the gait analysis program. Anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to one of us and we would be glad to help you with that. So I think that's all for now, but hopefully we'll be able to get together again with Coach Reese soon and have another conversation. So thanks everyone who joined us today. Bye guys.
Take care.